In this video, we'll break down the NFC East, going over each team's chances in the 2021 season, making our order of finish predictions, and whether any team can get in as a wild card. Yeah, right. All that, plus we're going to tell you how to win a valuable prize coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee.
And I'm Jack Grant, sitting in for Michael Wiley, and we're the fantasy football consultants.
Jack, thanks so much for sitting in today. I don't know if Michael Wiley thought the NFC East was beneath him, but it's great to have you on the show in this episode.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate that. As the viewers may know, we've done a few other shows analyzing each NFL division as part of the 2021 season. So for those of you who haven't watched them yet, the links are in the other division shows are in the description. So please feel free to click that. We want you guys to let us know what you think.
Yeah, and if you're new here, what we do is we talk all about the NFL, including season-long fantasy and dynasty fantasy football, as well as daily fantasy football and NFL survivor polls. Please consider hitting that red subscriber button, followed by the bell icon, and so you don't miss any of our content. All right, Jack, let's talk NFC East. Tell us what happened last year.
We saw Washington finished off the season 7-9. It's pretty remarkable that a sub 500 team could get a playoff spot, but they seem to have the will to do that. Next in line were the Giants and Dallas, finishing up at 6-10. And then rounding out the group, Philadelphia finished last at 4-11-1. Eric, what about the odds for this division this year? What's it looking like?
Well, Las Vegas' favorite to win the NFC East is the Dallas Cowboys, plus 135, meaning bet 100 to win 135. Plus 200 is the Washington football team, still doesn't have a nickname. The New York Giants are plus 450, and Philadelphia, Jack, plus 550. Bet 100 if you want to waste $100, and you can get 550 if you think Philadelphia wins the division.
Wow.
So, our FFC community can play along with us. Go into the comment section and enter your order of finish in the NFC division. Who's going to finish first, second, third, and fourth? And if there's going to be any wildcard teams, be sure to indicate it that. If you are exactly correct, then you get into a poll. Jack, this is exciting. They will be able to do a show with Michael, Wiley, and myself. Meet us on Zoom. So get those in. Are you going to get your picks in, Jack?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can make a few bucks. I don't know about Philadelphia though. I'm not a big plus 550 kind of guy. So
let's go through them. Shall we start with Jack?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about their offense a little bit. They just acquired Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? So how will the 38-year-old kind of do at the helm? I know he's proven to be worthy in other roles.
Yeah, you know what? We'll see. But here's what I'm certain. He's going to be a major upgrade over what they've had in the past. I mean, really subpar performances for a long time by Dwayne Haskins and Alex Smith. So I think Fitzpatrick solves this problem at QB. And he's got a lot of weapons to work with, Jack. He's got J.D. McKissick passing out of the backfield. Terry McLaurin is just a star. And I think we're going to find out this year how good this guy really is now that he has a competent quarterback throwing to him. Curtis Samuel, they signed him. He's going to help. He is injured now, but I think by the season, too far into the season, he should be good to go. And man, I am impressed with Logan Thomas. He has really developed into a really solid tight end. A lot of weapons on this Washington offense.
Yeah, I agree, Eric. And plus you had the rookie last year, Gibson, coming back for a second year. Do you expect a sophomore slump out of him or?
No, I think he's a real talent. He'll be great. And with all the other weapons, it's not like you can just key on him.
What about their defense? I mean, they dominated last year. Do you think that's going to continue at all or?
Yeah, that was absolutely the strength of the team. Led by Chase Young, they may very well have the best defensive line in the NFL. And they improved their secondary. They added cornerback William Jackson. It's kind of funny watching any Cincinnati game last year. Any side that William Jackson was on, the other team would just throw to the other side. But they're not going to be able to get away with that on the football team because they have cornerback Kendall Fuller on the other side, who is really good. So I think their secondary is going to be improved. And that means I think their defense will be improved.
Yeah, it's like shades of Revis Island out there, right? I like that.
So I do like I like this Washington's chances to improve on a 7-9 record. Now, I like to think that it's going to take more than 7-9 to win this division in 2021. We'll see.
Gotcha. Yeah, we'll see how the quarterback situation goes for some of the other teams, which we'll get into a little bit. On that note, what do you think about the Giants? They were without their running back Saquon Barkley last year due to the injury. How will it be, getting him back and into the mix of things?
It'll be huge. He is such an incredible talent. But here's the thing, Jack. Even without them, without Barkley, they were a Philadelphia Eagle tank job at the end of the season away from winning this division. Now, don't give me too many crocodile tears out there in New York land. I mean, they were 6-10. So how can you really complain that you didn't win the division when you were 6-10? But you know what? They'll get Barkley back. They signed Kenny Galladay. They also signed speedster wide receiver from Cincinnati, John Ross. They drafted in the first round wide receiver Kadarius Toney. I mean, there are a lot of weapons. But here's the issue, and I want to get your opinion on this. The issue is, with all these weapons, is Daniel Jones going to be able to utilize them? Is he going to step up his play to be a better than average quarterback? He has to, if these Giants have any chance to win a division.
Well, I certainly hope so. I have him on my fantasy team, and he had a couple big games last year. I know he had like a 41-point game for me, and a few others. He can definitely run the football when he isn't tripping right before the goal line. But
it was a hilarious play.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anyone within 15 yards of him.
Yeah, that was tough to watch, and I actually would have won my matchup last year. So I have a little bit of bitter hatred toward him, but I hope the Giants are able to improve and make that division a bit more competitive. That all said, what do you think about their defense, though? Are we looking at, the old 2007 team that took down the Patriots? Or
yeah, no, their defense isn't that good, but their defense is solid. Not as good as I think the Washington football team, but I don't think it's going out on a limb to say that they have the second best defense in this division. They're led by one of the top secondaries in the NFL with Pro Bowler James Bradbury at cornerback. You know what? My concern with this Giant team, believe it or not, is still on the offensive side. How will these weapons come together? And will Daniel Jones prove to be as good as I think the Giants hope he is?
All right, Eric. So on that note, let's talk about Dallas and America's team. I know their offense last year was on pace to be record-breaking, right? Until Dak Prescott got injured with that terrible ankle injury in week 5. What do you think about Dallas in 2021 now that they have Dak back?
Wow. Well, the offense is outstanding. By far the best offense in this division. Prescott is the real deal. I think he's great, not only in fantasy, but in real life. And he's got a lot of weapons. He's got Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard out of the backfield. One of the best trio of wide receivers between Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb. And 2 good tight ends. Not only Dalton Schultz, who did fine last year, but they're going to get Blake Jarwin back, who was supposed to be the starter last year. So I think this offense is raring to go. Right
on. Yeah. And, historically speaking, they've always had one of the best offensive lines. Do you expect that to continue this year? Give Dak the protection that he needs?
Yeah, well, it's not, for many years they boasted maybe they're the best offensive line in all of football. It's not that, but it's still well above average. They have two of their best offensive linemen, Tyrone Smith and Zach Martin, are coming back from last year, and they were injured most of last year, missing 14 and 6 games respectively. So if they're healthy, by definition, their line will be a little better than last year.
Gotcha. And I have to ask, since you're pretty high on how their offense is, what do you make of their defense? I mean, are they going to be able to have a secondary that can lock down other wide receivers? Or
yeah, how about the 2020 Cowboys, who gave up more points than franchise history last year? They gave up the second most yards and rush yards, total yards and rush yards of any team in the NFL. Man, this team's defense, the only good news is they knew this was their weakness, and they used their first round draft pick and getting Micah Parsons in the 12th overall pick. He'll help, but they still clearly have the worst defense in the division.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair point. Fair point. I see, you kind of have both sides of it there. I'm glad that you didn't have your pom-poms stashed underneath your desk there for Dallas.
No,
Really?
you just gotta tell it like it is. I am not a Cowboy homer.
Good. Okay. Coming back down to earth. I like that. Well, on that note, why don't we discuss, the Philadelphia Eagles and the terrible season they had last year. This year in the offseason, they traded away Carson Wentz and has so far passed on signing a free agent QB, which to many people would mean that Jalen Hurts, owns this team at this point and is going to be the QB1 moving forward. What do you make of the 2021 Eagles offense?
Yeah, Eagle fans have to be a little disappointed that Aaron Rodgers kissed and made up in Green Bay, and maybe they're still hoping a Deshaun Watson will come in and save the show. But likely they're going with Jalen Hurts. And you know what? I always have to separate, Jack, fantasy and real life. I actually think I'm a Jalen Hurts fantasy fan because of how much he runs the ball. In just 4.5 games, he ran for 354 yards. That's amazing. But in real life, you know what? I don't know if he's going to be the answer at quarterback. We're going to have to see. In his rookie season, he only completed 52% of his passes. That's the worst among all starters last year. So we'll have to see. It does, and you can't blame this on Jalen. Yeah. Philadelphia has not had a solid wide receiver in like forever. They haven't even gotten a wide receiver that's gained 1,000 yards since 2014, which is probably why they did everything, including moving up in the draft, passing their fellow NFC East competitors to draft Devontae Smith. And he has history with playing with Jalen Hurts, so maybe this really helps him out.
I hope so. I know historically they've had a few pretty good wide receivers, Alshon Jeffrey and Nelson Aguilar, had some promise before they traded him away. Clearly they were good enough to have that Super Bowl run a few years back, but I agree with you. They need a little bit of work, especially with a second-year QB and Jalen Hurts. Well, why don't we just move on to defense now? Is there anything, any surprises there with Philly's defense? Are they going to get a little better?
I don't think of Philadelphia having a good defense, but I'm just finished talking about the Cowboy defense. So their defense is better than the Cowboys, if no other reason is because of their defensive line. They finished third in sacks last year in the entire NFL, but their linebackers in secondary are definitely below average. They allowed the highest completion percentage, the fifth highest completion percentage and the fifth highest quarterback rating. So definitely have room for improvement. And they didn't do anything in the offseason that greatly improved their defense. They're the only one in the division that has serious question marks on both sides of the ball. Let me get to my picks. So Las Vegas has heavily liked, how about them Cowboys? But not me. I'm actually going to go with the Washington football team. Michael Wiley always likes to preach defense and how important defense is. And the defense that is absolutely the best in this division is the football team's defense. And I think they'll be much improved on offense. So I got Washington. Right behind them, I have the Dallas Cowboys. Then I'm actually going to go with the New York Giants with a healthy Saquon, hopefully. And then finally, those Eagles in last. Jack, I am interested in who you think's going to win this division. But before you do that, tell me what was Michael Wiley's picks? He phoned them in.
Yep. So we'll go through Michael's picks here. He has America's team #1, Dallas, and then he thinks that your football team is going to finish second, followed by the Eagles, and last the New York Giants. And there's no wild card winners there, so just Dallas is the division winner.
Let me just comment that I agree with Michael that I do not have any team going in as a wild card. So actually, I'm saying the Cowboys missed the playoffs entirely. Tell me how would you what would you do your order?
It's funny you mentioned that. I'm glad you were able to get that jab in, because I was just going to say that I think Dallas is going to take it home this year with the whole division. I also think that there's not going to be wild card teams similar to last year. But I do like Dallas and their weapons, as you mentioned earlier. And with a healthy Dak back, it's really difficult to kind of write them out, especially in such a weak, historically weak anyway, NFC East division. So I'm with Michael on this one. Sorry, Eric.
Hey, and you're with the lines makers. Most people would agree with you guys with Dallas. Let's talk a little fantasy. Let's talk about Ezekiel Elliott. What are some things that come into mind? Is this someone that if you were in a redraft league, that you would be targeting somewhere in the first round, or would you be a little more cautious?
That's a really good question, and one that I think a lot of our viewers out there are probably wondering the same thing, especially in such a highly notarized, Dallas Cowboys team this year with high expectations. He's had, 2 seasons now of some regression, some off the field issues that we're hearing of, but I mean, to his credit, Dak was out last year, and Dallas was playing from behind quite a few games, so they had to pass the ball a bit. So maybe that kind of hurt his ability to run on first down when they need to get quick touchdowns. For me, I'm going to be a bit more cautious on Zeke. I mean, he's at that prime age, but I'd say at least in the next year or so, you have to be considering, whether it's time to dump him on a high note, and when there's still all these good things people are saying about him on the field. So,
yeah, it is a mystery because at just 26 years old, he should truly be in his prime. There's some reasons to be optimistic that Zeke makes a comeback this year. As you mentioned, Dak will be back, but as I also mentioned earlier, their offensive line should be better. I've heard training camp, he's come in lighter and he's all excited. So I don't know if that is any hype that we should ignore. The other thing that I've heard, which could be good news for Zeke, is that Dak Prescott, after getting hurt last year, is going to be a little bit more cautious and run a little less, especially around the goal line. He routinely steals about 6 touchdowns away from Zeke Elliott. So, man, if we can just get Dak away from those 1 and 2 yard plunges, that would help Elliott out. So I'm going to go actually in the middle. I am cautiously optimistic. This is not someone I'm targeting in the middle, or certainly not early first round, but around the turn in a 10 or 12 team league is when I'm starting to think about Zeke.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you brought up about, Dak maybe not taking those lunges toward the goal line. I think it could easily be one of those, 2009 Brett Favre, Adrian Peterson combos where, Zeke is going to be able to fall forward just like Adrian Peterson used to. I'm a Vikings fan, as you guys may know, so had to draw that comparison, but I think he plays with the same style and he's always falling forward and he's just a really tough runner. So if they want to kind of preserve Dak a little bit, they could, hand the ball off to Zeke for those goal line finishes.
Well, Jack, thank you for taking time out to join us and sub in for Michael. As usual, you are awesome. And thank you guys for watching. Remember, we've got all the links to all the shows in the description for our division shows. Until we see you in the next show, take care, and we'll see you next time.
Take care. Thanks, guys.